Nowadays, everyone makes music. With how easy it is to hop on the mic, it makes sense. But with all these new artists, I can't help but wonder how the definition of an album is changing. So to satisfy my curiosity, I sat down with two artists and an engineer to get their perspectives.
My name is Cash, I'm from Chicago.
My name is Gagi. I'm 23 years old. I make hip hop, rap, underground.
My name is George. I'm also known as Euphoria. I'm a mix engineer. I've been doing this for about 6 to 8 years professionally.
You've been doing everything for a long time. We have interviews going back over the years, right?
Yeah.
You've got 11 albums under your belt. Can you talk to me a little bit about that process of making an album?
It's changed over time. I've always tried something different. Like first, let's add a story, a concept to it. Let's do a debut album. You know, it kind of grows and grows as your catalog and you develop as an artist. The idea behind an album is really just, it starts at like how I'm feeling at that time. So if I want to make a story one, like World on Fire, which is about heaven, you know, limbo hell, I'll do it. But if I want to make a different album, like just lit songs that we can just have fun to, then I'll do that. So starts, you got to know what you want. It can start that way, or it can be more organic to where you make a lot of music over, let's say, 3 months. I make 100 songs. My favorite, let's put them together, see what it turns into.
The first one or whatever, I would say that it was pretty much just me making a group of songs, and at the time, they're all kind of like a similar vibe. And I ended up putting them together. But my last album, Pop Boy, was more intentional, and I had like a theme. I feel like you have to have a theme, you have to create a world behind it, and you have to have a good team of producers to create that world.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
Just seeing how like big mainstream artists have rollouts for that album. For example, like Travis Scott, Astroworld is a big rollout. There's a big vibe to it. Like you understand that you're in a world. Utopia, same thing. Like you're in a world. So whenever you create an album, you want to create a world with it, and it's more marketable when you have a world, and you put people in a certain space when you do that.
Absolutely. And can you talk to me a little bit about that world making process?
How I would personally do it, or how I've done it before. I mean, it's basically whatever I'm on at that time period, whatever. Like I may be just listening to like hella like 80s music, hella so-and-so, like whatever's going around, that I'm like, okay, how can I bring this into modern day, and how can I make this cool? Because usually everything's been done before, to be honest, but you want to create your own aesthetic with it.
Absolutely. You want to make it a little bit of you. When it comes to albums in particular, can you talk to me about some of the experiences that you've had making albums in here?
Yeah, just recently, some of my friends, Chrome Gift Rap, Jordan and Mike, they just dropped a really nice tape. They made it 2 years ago, left it on my computer, came back and we mixed it, and you know, they had a vision for the tape early on where they wanted it all sonically to have the same vibe and hit. And I even recommended to them, I'm like, hey, do you want this tape to all sound the same? They said, absolutely. So again, 6 songs, something like it was like 5 songs. And they came in here maybe once a month and would give me reference tracks like, hey, check this out. What do you think of this? And I would keep mixing their song until I got the vibe of the reference. The biggest challenge with that really was making sure that all these different songs that have all these different textures can sound the same on AirPods. And when you're hearing it, it's like a click through, as opposed to like, oh my God, this one's so different.
Like one is all the way up here, the other's all the way down here.
A good engineer won't like that.
Absolutely.
A good engineer, that's the first thing they're gonna go at an album, is like, you know, keeping it in that box and choosing maybe like the size of that box. I guess like, how big are we making this? How loud are we making this? So a lot of that was learned this year recently.
Absolutely. And can you talk to me a little bit more about the technical aspect of making albums?
A lot of it, like I said, was the reference mixing, being able to listen to a done pro mix and give it to these guys. Also, a lot of it too is being open-minded. Because
go down that path a little bit.
So you got to click buttons in this career. You know, I'm basically just clicking buttons until it sounds the way I want. But to get to that point, there's a lot of like loopholes or like parts that you get stuck in, you know. It's temporarily sounding worse than before, so you got to be able to trust yourself that you're in like a little down hump and you'll get out of it and do better. and that artist has to trust, like, hey, it's not exactly where I want at this current moment, but you're so good, I know that you're gonna get it.
Yeah, I think that trust is a really big aspect.
Huge.
Not even just with albums too, but when any creative field, like
Yeah.
having to trust that gut is so easy to just be like, man, this temporarily sounds bad, so I'm just gonna chuck it out the window, right?
Yeah.
But that trust is really what makes the good product good.
Trust is everything in an album.
Absolutely.
Like knowing you're gonna get through the other end, and then just kind of leveraging what you know through those obstacles, like getting through the obstacles, be like, you know what, I'm gonna get through it, and when it's done and it's on Spotify, they're gonna get that experience that I built. Like everything you put into an album while you're making it, even if it seems tedious or like who's ever gonna hear this,
Yeah.
subconsciously this does register in their brain. Even if they just think you're cool because you made an intricate tape, these things add up in people's minds.
Yeah, it's just free flowing. It develops. I think it develops in the back of your head, the subconscious, more than something made in a factory and very fake. So
Yeah, it's like it's more from the heart.
I feel you. And how would you compare your first album to your latest?
I would say my latest one, it's a lot more crisp, and it's a lot more like, I got my own sound on that particular one, the latest one. The first one is just like, okay, I'm kind of coming in, trying to really put my name out there more than anything.
Yeah, like figuring it out and finding your footing a little bit.
Yeah.
And when it came to making the albums in between that first one and that last one, how did you find that footing a little bit?
I got more comfortable on doing what I wanted to do. I found that cover just, and this is for like any artist, just putting in hella reps in the studio type thing. Like, I mean, making music is like, it's a muscle. Like you're using your brain multiple times. Like you're just steady using your brain until you find something that fits you and find something that you feel comfortable with.
Absolutely, you just gotta find that lane.
yeah, for sure, spontaneous, organic, or at least I think that's the way it should be. You get in the big leagues and you have an audience, a target audience. You're more strategic. Then I get it. A lot of artists actually fall into that. They make music and they drop music that they don't fuck with. They don't like it, but no, I'm not there yet, which is a blessing. So,
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta keep that soul.
yes, sir.
This next question I got for you: what was making your very first album like way back in the day when you were trying to step into it? What were some of those things that you encountered?
That's a good question. I have to look back. And to be honest, the first album was me going to college freshman year. So much changed quickly. I mean, I'm meeting new people. I'm growing into myself, living on my own. So I think that kind of translated through my music. Because freshman year of college, oh my gosh, I just stayed in my room. It was so overwhelming for me. So it gave me that opportunity to really, tap in. To be honest, my first album, I'm glad I dropped it. I don't regret it, but it's not music I listen to. Like, if you play that and you're like, yo, that's my favorite song of yours, I'm like, come on.
And it's
bro.
crazy because for a long time, my favorite song was Neon. That little interlude on their first album, I was digging it.
Right.
But now, like, seeing how much you've grown too, I'm like, I feel you. I'm like, my favorite song now is either off of GG, one of the new singles, but I feel you on that.
Thank you, boss. Yeah, I've grown with it, but that album was fun. It was just fun times and a milestone for my first album. That's how it started there, yeah. But it's definitely grown.
I feel that growing process has been a lot. Like, from seeing World on Fire to Elevator, like everything that you've been doing over the past few years, there's a lot of different, how can I say, like caveats that you've dug into.
From your time working with different artists, what are some similarities you've noticed in their album making processes?
They are, in the most respectful way, like sensitive about it, like it matters, like their initial vision, you could add to it and you can polish it, right? But sometimes you just might hit like a funny bone with these guys, and in hitting those funny bones, you start to see like, oh, you really don't want that. A lot of guys take their art very seriously, and you got to be sensitive with it too. You got to treat it like their work, That's one thing that a lot of artists have in common. Also, too, I feel like every tape has a message or an emotion that they're trying to convey, and they've already fully decided that before they walk in there. They know how they want to be seen, and they know the message of the album. I feel like is one thing that ties a lot of people together, and a lot of people look at CD as a reflection of themselves or their band. So yeah, like I said, they take it very seriously. It's a sensitive subject matter, and the more you can show vulnerability with that artist, that you're on their side of the vulnerability, it's like a side of them just totally opens up,
Mm-hmm.
Everything before that, they're all like, yeah. But once you get the album,
Yeah.
and once you show them like, yo, be vulnerable. I'll be double as vulnerable as you
Mhm.
right here in the seat as an engineer.
Mhm.
That you just get a different artist, and a
Absolutely.
better one.
And I mean, I find the similarities with the conversation too. That's why I spent so much time doing the pre-interview with you, just to break
Oh,
the ice
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
When you talk about that vulnerability, is there any particular moments that come to mind?
I've had artists cry in here. I've had an artist get in there and you hear them on the headphones crying. You know, they're in the studio. You don't see them, but yeah, like so many different moments, really.
And what is? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Not at
but,
all. No, you're good.
What do you feel when you have an artist in there who's really pouring their heart out and like literally crying on the mic? Like, how does that make you feel?
Responsibility.
Mhm.
I get hit with the wave of responsibility. You got to make this sound good. You got to make this what they want, so that when they go and they're not in here listening to it, like they're able to relive that experience in a healthy way, in a way where it's like, wow, I worked so hard, I cried so hard, and in the end, it does matter. You
Absolutely,
know?
yeah. Because once again, like when you're making it, it's so easy to fall into that trap of like, man, what the hell am I doing this for?
Absolutely.
You know, but
Like buyer's remorse. Or
Absolutely,
almost like
yeah.
a type of vibe.
Uh-huh,
You know?
that's a real good way to put it.
Yeah.
But like once that finished product comes along, like it's all tied together. It's like a Christmas present kind of.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially when it hits on the speakers, like not just is it mixed with, but like it's got a punch. And you put it in the cars, you give it to your friends. Who
It's got
makes
that
this?
punch again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
super important to me.
I love it.
Yeah.
And this question is a little bit more broad. What lessons have you learned when it comes to making albums?
I learned never to settle. You want to keep creating songs, like just keep creating, and take your time more than anything. You never want to rush it. You want to have the right engineers. You want to have the right production team. Like settle on something that you feel 100% passionate about and that you want to give to the people. Right?
And where does your passion for music stem from?
It starts from what impact can I leave? Like, what impact can I leave on the world? And if, like, let's say this, like, if I died today and this was the last thing, like, would you really want something that's asked to be the last thing? You feel me?
So it's just being ready, and also you're always making changes on the back end. So if you update your studio, your new album will reflect that. I just got a new PC, this fucking NASA computer, crazy, you know, I'm so blessed. But this thing allowed me to record with no lag, no latency on my vocals, but I had every effect on. So I'm hearing the final product
Like
as
real
I'm
time?
speaking it in real time. Craziest shit ever, dude. My last computer, fucking dude, that thing, oh my gosh. I'd record and I'd have to put 10 effects on after and kind of just stick with it.
Yeah, just see how it goes. Yeah.
Exactly, and it was just such a process. Now it's more seamless, so I'm trying to make the music more organic and just how I'm feeling.
It's really years later when I feel like I get the most out of it. You know, when I've seen these people kind of like sit into who they are as an artist, and you know, now they're even more expressive in the booth. You know, whatever they were doing originally, they're like double as vulnerable, or like, hey, you know, I know this is a flaw of mine, but it doesn't even bother me anymore.
Exactly, like they're leaning into it a little bit.
They leaning into it, and when you can hear that in music, a lot of people think that perfect music is perfect. However, go listen to it. It's not perfect.
I know.
They were okay with the perfection, and that looseness of attitude allowed you to feel like it wasn't there. Just like with confidence, just like with people, you go up to somebody, you stutter a little bit as a confident person, and you're speaking, it's not going to affect you.
Absolutely.
You know, you just go right through it. And I think that lightheartedness, seeing people like flow into that lightheartedness is really wild, especially the more self-conscious people. I love seeing that.
It's beautiful, like, because it's like a flower blooming. Man.
Yeah.
Like you really see somebody coming to form.
Yeah, like a plant turning to a tree, you know? They were just
Yeah.
green and now they're stump.
Absolutely,
You know,
it was just a little baby tree, and now it's like a huge oak.
Now it's you know, I
Yeah.
love seeing that in people.
It's beautiful.
A lot of people have stayed with me over the years.
Mhm.
Over these years, like you said, I allowed them to be vulnerable, and I never judged them for it. I always treated them like a friend. Yo, how's it going? Crack jokes. And I think that when you do that, and you come back years later, you'd be very surprised how these people not only become your family, friends, but a much better artist.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with the vulnerability, and I encourage it while they're in the booth. They'll know, like, hey, bro, be twice as vulnerable.
Absolutely.
I'm the guy saying.
I think it's important too, just because it's like like vulnerability really opens people up, you know,
Yeah.
like and fostering that in a sense of music where you're putting your heart on the table so the artist could do the same thing. Like, it's incredible.
It's a
love it.
rush. I get a huge rush out of it. I call it like flying. It'll be like flying. Like, they're recording so good, I'm mixing so good, and he trusts me, I trust him. It's like we're playing a fast game of like tennis, you know?
Like table tennis, back and forth,
And it's-
nobody holding out.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah, I
Dude.
feel you.
Nice feeling.
This next question I got for you: what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to make their first album? They don't really know what's going on, but they really have this passion for music and they want to put together a project.
First, just know what you want to do. Quite simply, if you want to drop an album with fun songs, commit to that. If you want to drop an album with a concept, commit to that. How much you care about it will show in the final product. I will say, drop the music that you want to. That's a big it's a problem, maybe issue. Just an area of growth I had was I made so many songs that I would always look to others for their validation, and it showed a lack of confidence in myself when I was coming up. At one point, I dropped "Get Loose," and that was like a song that like people, when I played it to them, didn't really care about, but I saw something in it. I dropped it, and it's my biggest song yet, and it really just changed the trajectory of my music. Where I was there, I mean, to then, still a lot of room to grow, but bro, it's like I listen to myself. Whatever you're making, listen to yourself.
Take your time and really know what you want to do, and most importantly, have fun. Don't be hard on yourself, but be hard on yourself as far as going in the studio, putting in those reps. You know what I mean?
Don't be afraid to be influenced. I'd say don't be afraid to be influenced. Get out there, look in the market, and also to something that really helped me personally as an artist in my own music, aside from engineering, is knowing who you are, like knowing what you like. A lot of times from like maybe 18 to 21, you're growing up in this society where people tell you what you should value. People tell you, hey, you kind of look like you would be this type of guy or this type of girl, you know?
Yeah,
I would say totally throw that out the window.
absolutely.
Throw it out the window. Get out there, experience life, move away,
Yeah, that's a big
move out of
thing.
state, and be by yourself and learn what it is to be yourself. Learn what bothers you, learn what doesn't bother you. What are your quirks? What are you good at? And find a style of music that allows you to speak on those things without making it seem like you're reaching or like trying too hard, you know?